that first?
Well, do we want to do it right after? It'll be quick?
Yeah, it should take 5 minutes at the most.
Okay,
right?
well, let's wait till, so we'll move that one up to first, and then we'll do the irrigation, weathermatic, and then let's do the website third, and then the top 10 priorities last, so that if we run out, at least we're getting through what I think are the critical issues first.
Thank you.
Is that acceptable, and can I ask
Yeah.
you to change your motion and second?
To do what you just said. Perfect.
Agreed?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the motion to approve the CROA workshop minutes from May 6th, which, to me, they were fine. I had one typo here, which I'll give Rachel, it's just a small typo. Anybody else have any comments on these?
Nope.
Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Take it away, Todd.
Good morning, guys.
Hi, how you doing?
Before you should have the proposals from New Leaf and Yellowstone in regards to the athletic complex turf maintenance or landscape maintenance. What we looked at was a 3-month startup program for the Bermuda turf. All the experts are telling us that it needs a 3-month period grow in to make sure that they're healthy enough for play to start on the fields. Landscape architects and the landscape companies have all recommended that. So you've got 2 proposals, one from New Leaf and one from Yellowstone, which is also marked Ellis Turf Services.
So those are both for exactly the same services?
They are. The one from New Leaf is based on a 3-month period. The one from Ellis is based on a 30-day period. We feel that the 3-month is needed at this point to make sure it grows in healthy. So our recommendation was to go with New Leaf with their 30-day or 90-day program. It seems like it's more inclusive. It includes 3 cuts a week on Bermuda, which is important. Top dressing, and we're confident in New Leaf's abilities to grow these fields in well.
So is that a cost of roughly $72,000 plus the 37? Is that what we're looking at? I was just trying to understand that.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the proposal, and I can't see the numbers from New Leaf. I see Yellowstone's.
Well,
The New Leaf's grow-in schedule is $36,950.
that's on page 2.
On page 2? Okay.
Yes.
And their monthly is $5,996.
Okay, that was an annual, sorry. So it would be, make this math easy, it would be 6 times 3 is 18 plus 37, so it would be about 55,000, whereas Yellowstone would be about 75,000.
Correct.
And we have money budgeted in the operating line for these fields for landscaping and maintenance of the facility.
Okay.
This comes in a little bit over what we budget in the operating budget, but this is closer than what Yellowstone was forecasting for the monthly operating budget. Now, I think it's also important to understand that the 3-month grow-in period, we're working right now with the general contractor and the sod provider to get the right sod before we take it over and begin the 3-month period. So we're in that limbo stage where we're trying to make sure that it's done right before we fully accept it.
So you have flexibility as to the start time with this, then?
Yeah, and it is a recommended 3-month growing period. There's possibility of play prior to 3 months, but they really want some strong push to get that root base solid over the next 3 months.
Yeah, I'd walked it. It looked like it needed to be more solid.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Well, and part of it still needs to be replaced because it was dead when it went in.
Okay.
So, and then there would be a monthly fee after that? Is that the $5,996?
Correct, yes.
Which would be your regular, ongoing,
Regular
long-term fee.
maintenance. Yellowstone had come in last year
$7,200.
at a much lower price, but once they looked at, the completed fields, their cost went up, and they're just not apples to apples from what our sports turf scope is compared to what they submitted. They've excluded a few other things in their agreement, and it costs more. So we're confident in New Leaf's ability. They have construction experience with golf courses. We see their work out in the service areas, and we're confident that they can maintain them to the level that we need them to be.
So to summarize, we use both of these parties today, so we know them both. We know they're both professional. In this case, New Leaf is cheaper, but again, we use them, we know they're professional, so, and they're comparable bids, so making sense to go with New Leaf based upon those facts. True statement?
True statement.
And the other positive to having a contract separate for the athletic field complex is if it's not working, we can adjust, adapt, and move on.
Yeah, because
Instead of tying it to
we got
everything
3 months
else.
here versus 12 months, something like that, so this,
Would this be a dedicated part of New Leaf? In other words, are we going to see New Leaf contractors that have been doing other work suddenly pulled off to do ball field work?
No, they've, in their proposal, it is a dedicated team. It takes specialized equipment that Yellowstone currently doesn't have, which is reel mowers, and the frequency. So you'll see New Leaf out there 3 times a week.
okay.
And you're comfortable with New Leaf?
Absolutely.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is just that it seems to me we've been developing a relationship with Yellowstone. We've got them doing the majority of our CROA landscaping right now, I think, right?
Right.
And it seems like it's a pretty good working relationship, so,
So New Leaf does all the service areas.
right, right.
They do. Susanna and I both work with Yellowstone and New Leaf throughout the day. We have some landscape services through CROA provided by New Leaf for new installations in the past, and they've done a fantastic job.
And you're nodding your head, Susanna, you
Yes.
agree New Leaf is?
Yes, absolutely.
Motion to approve New Leaf? Motion to approve. Second?
Second.
Any other conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Todd. Thanks, Next item, let's do weathermatic.
Always go back to the time.
Thanks.
Thank you. There are also materials in our package here. Actually, what I'm going to do, since I've got the materials, I'm going to hand one out in the audience here. Are you using yours?
Here, I'll just put a couple in the audience, if you want to look at it, so.
Oh, there it is. So you just tell me next page and I'll scroll through as you see that.
And just so you know, this is Brody Bruner. He's with Weathermatic, and he's going to give you a presentation about what it's all about. We've talked about it several times, but Brody, you're up.
And if I can, you're on camera and everything, so let's just, the camera doesn't really pick this up well at all. So for the sake of the audience and everything else, including people on camera who do, a lot of people do watch these after the fact, just kind of go through the big picture orally so that people can pick it up and understand what we're discussing.
You bet.
Thank you, Brody.
Very good. Thank you all for having me. My name is Brody Bruner. I'm with Weathermatic. Been with Weathermatic since 95, one year after your 1994 here. I joke sometimes it's the internship that never ended. I'll almost hit 25 years next year. But thank you for having me. I'm based at our headquarters in Dallas, Texas. You can go on to the next slide. Obviously, today we're going to talk about the proposal for upgrading the control system that waters that's responsible for the irrigation and watering the common grounds of Celebration here. That's our purpose. A quick introduction of our company. We are a smart irrigation leader. Oops, looks like our graphics are not like those. So disregard those. I think they're showing up on you guys' stuff. We're a leader in smart irrigation controllers. If any of you have ever owned a home or business that had an irrigation controller, it may have been our brand, but we're the leader certainly in commercial and communities and institutions with over 500,000 smart controllers that are in operation today. We're rated a Consumer's Digest Best Buy with a 15-year track record of reliability, and our national water savings average is 38%. We are EPA WaterSense labeled. Some of our valued clients, which trust me, they're up there on the file, you all can see them, but just to, I'm gonna switch up here. Some of those valued clients include the big three banks, including organizations like Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, also major institutions. Examples of that would be Clemson University, Texas A&M University. Many community associations are already using our technology.
You have any idea how many?
Oh, boy.
I mean, is it 50, 100, 1,000, 2,000? Roughly.
Community associations, I would say it would be probably 500 plus, something along
Okay.
those lines. I say that because a lot of what, as a manufacturer of the equipment, we sell through different distribution channels, and sometimes we don't know where it goes.
Okay.
In this case, obviously, we're working with you directly, and so that's a good one for us. All right, that's a little bit about us and our company. Again, we're based in Dallas, Texas. We started in 1945. We're a global company in 85 countries, so just wanted you all to have the confidence of the organization you're dealing with. And when it comes to the technology we're proposing, we are regarded as the world leader in that, in smart technology.
Are you private or public?
We are privately owned.
Okay.
A little bit about the platform itself. We make a smart control technology that will retrofit into your existing control equipment. So what's involved there today is you have irrigation controllers, and they have wires going out to all your valves. We're not digging anything up in terms of the valves and the sprinklers. What we'll be doing is taking the wires out of your old control system, removing that box that was controlling it, and putting those wires into our smart control system.
Todd, or just
Yes.
just for the audience, Nat.
Yes.
Todd, where all do we have sprinkler systems, so people can kind of get a perception of the scope here?
Any CROA park has irrigation in it,
So that's predominant. Will it be the new athletic fields too?
Yes, this is planned for the new athletic field. So currently, CDD operates and controls irrigation through a majority of our parks. The only place currently not covered by the CDD would be this building and Spring Lake area. Anything else is on the Maxicom, Rainbird Maxicom system. So if we want an adjustment to the irrigation, we have to go through the CDD to get that adjusted. Rainbird at the time, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, was top-notch. It was the Cadillac of irrigation systems. Nowadays, it's not supported by Rainbird anymore. You have to go to third-party vendors to get updates on your control panels. So the Weathermatic would basically take the control units that we have now that are shared between CROA and the CDD, pull our wires out, put a pedestal right next to theirs, and we're on our own at that point.
Okay.
The factor is the CDD bills us for our water based on what their Maxicom says we utilize throughout the month. This would give us an actual reading with flow meters, and we'd know exactly how much water we're using at that.
So would it be fair to say that today we are using close to outdated or maybe even close to obsolete equipment? It's just 20 years old, just a reality of 20 years, and we're relying on the good graces and efficiency of CDD to handle things well. So with this change, we will be in control of our water usage and be able to properly report and manage and monitor it. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
Just for full clarification, we do have two CDDs in town. Is this a CCDD or the ECDD? And the reason why I ask is because the ECDD typically covers most of the water in town.
It's
So
CCD.
it is, okay.
These are the meters that we looked at when we went up to North Village, and they had the meters, when we did our drive
That
around
stainless
a
steel
couple
box.
years ago.
Oh, pedestals.
The pedestal thing that we're swapping out.
Yep, it's stainless steel box.
Yeah.
2.5-foot tall.
I need to back up a little bit, Kevin. I think your question's not necessarily black and white, because they have a management company that works for ECDD and CCDD.
Yeah, it's the same-
So
same
Russ is
company.
the one that works with this, but it's the same company that kind of oversees all this. But ECDD is the ones that bill
Who's-
us for the water.
So
They
ECDD
bill us
is the
for
one
water.
billing
Yeah,
us.
but when it comes to the percentage of time and how he's maintaining it, I really don't have a great answer for you for that. I don't know for sure.
Okay, that helps clarify, thank you.
Best efforts aside,
Interesting.
it would be nice to have sophisticated software, all things equal.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, we're setting the scope for a lot of people, so pardon the interruptions, but it just helps. Please go ahead.
No, it's very, sounds very relevant. So, it's Todd and I were alluding, so we're taking down, to be like, if you ever change the thermostat at your house, it's kind of like doing that now for your irrigation system, taking the wires out of the old one, putting up the smart one. Each of the 23 controllers will have its own weather station, so if the water's on one side of the community and not on the other, if it rains on one side versus the other, it will be attuned to that and your different microclimates as well. On the screen, if any of you can see it, is a kind of a picture of the network. The device that I said we would be removing is your pre-existing control system. That is the box on the far left that says Smart Line Controller. That is what we will apply in its place, is the smart controller. Sometimes that'll be in a pedestal, sometimes it'll be on a wall. The weather station you see in the top left, it communicates wirelessly with the controller. Next to the controller is a device we call an air card, and that's like having a smartphone for your smart controller. That's how it gets online. Connected to it is a flow sensor that's right below it. The flow sensor is what Todd was just describing, is able to read the flow that's going through the pipes, which is important on a number of levels. One, for sensing breaks and leaks. The other, in your case, is for metering to know what's the volume of usage. Okay? So those are the four primary pieces of equipment that are included in the proposal to you here. Just so you know how it works, that air card comes through a cellular signal and dials up into the internet cloud. We use Amazon Web Services, which is used by the Fortune 500 and Pentagon and other places, but known for its security and reliability, the market leader for cloud storage. So your information is being transferred through the cellular into the cloud, and then it's accessible from smartphone, computer, and tablet, and that is a two-way network. So Todd or your landscape providers can be in any one of these devices and make changes. They can use it as remote control. They can do a lot of different things, like inspections they can do with that software. And so they can send from wherever they are. Likewise, the controller can send to them. So if some maybe well-intentioned electrician was to turn off your sprinklers in a certain area of the community, that would trigger an alert where Todd and the landscape company would say, hey, we just planted new sod right there and it's not operating. We should go do something about that before it suffers in terms of the landscape.
Would it report a line break?
Yes, yeah, that's what the flow sensing.
It would pick it up, and then how do we get alerted on that?
That happens through an email alert. So if it sees an issue, it will shut it down immediately, and then it will alert you. So it doesn't wait until you see it to do something. It takes action if it sees something out of line right away. The technology is smart enough to do that.
And this is technology that has been used for 20 years, 25 years? How new is the technology
The smart
evolved?
control system was introduced in 2004.
2004.
We brought it online with the cloud-based because that was pre-iPhones and mobile technology then. We brought it into this current cloud environment in 2012. So it's well established and like I say, it's very well used in the market.
Will Yellowstone and New Leaf also get reports, or is everything coming to you, Todd, and your designees, and you're responsible, or how are you thinking about
We
that?
would set it up in multiple ways, Yellowstone as well as myself, so we have that, backstop there. But the best part about this is, right now, when we get irrigation reports from the landscape company, it's just on a piece of paper with check marks next to the zones that they checked. With this system, we'll know exactly when they were at a controller, when they were testing, how long they were there testing it, and it will send me a report immediately. So there's no way around of just paper shuffles. It's an actual report.
Because it's bringing back memories from a year ago, which is why I pushed this with the board. Just not only generates weather savings, but it generates strategic watering, or it's too wet here, shut it down, but it's dry over here. I mean, this is Florida, it rains one place and it doesn't rain the other place and all that type of stuff. So,
Yeah, but there's good checks and balances with it as well, besides the water savings. The technology's there. I utilized it in a community prior to being here, and they had just rolled it out, and it was fantastic. I still get updates from that controller. So
and what was the experience in that other community for you? What were the savings?
It was a brand new facility, so we weren't able to track the savings, but knowing when it's broken, knowing that it shuts it down and goes on to the next zone, so it doesn't really cut down on, shut the whole system down. It only shuts down the zone that it thinks is having an issue. So you're not going to lose all your landscaping. It's just the technology is amazing.
Okay, good.
Very good. Just if you could click forward here. So that's a little bit of look at the network. The controller is weather-based, so it's going to, when it's warmer, it's going to water more. When it's cooler, it's going to water less. Or if it's raining, I don't have many freezes here, but whatever it doesn't need to water, it doesn't. So it makes those daily adjustments. It is programmed for each zone. So while you have 23 controllers, each one of those is going to have 10, 20, 30, 40 zones each. Each one of those zones is programmed based on the type of soil, the type of plant, the type of sprinkler. So it's able to customize the watering and watering schedule for each of those individual zones of the property. So it's very intelligent in that way. Without this type of technology, it would just be a timer, which would be 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that may or may not be accurate for what the landscape needs. And that's what our system is able to do, is to water accurately to the needs of the plant based on the current weather.
Which I assume we have to program what's in each area and stuff like that.
We would, and we can take some of the information from MaxiCom now. That's when equipment was originally installed. They put in the data of how many sprinkler heads, what the rating for that sprinkler head is, so they can get the total gallons a minute. There will be some work with the Infomart and Russ to make sure that our system is compatible with MaxiCom when it comes to the amount of water that's flowing. MaxiCom is set up to where if it knows it has 400 gallons a minute through a pipe, it will set as many zones as it can that will flow up to that 400 gallons a minute. So meaning that when we separate our systems, they'll have to cut back on their stacking ability of those valves, so we make sure that we have our water and our water pressure as well. So Russ and I have already discussed that, and it's a click of a button, so shouldn't be any issues there.
So I have a couple of questions. One set I did send off to Susan that you just received now, that has been floating around, and that was a couple of questions from the technology committee. Some other ones that came to mind right now, I'd just like to see things about the warranty, lightning capital of the world right here. So when the lightning hits that, what does that mean to us? How does it get repaired? What issues are we going to have?
I'll address that coming up.
Cool. Couple things, cellular you mentioned, that's going to be an additional expense outside of this.
No, it's
That's included in that monthly. And rebates and incentives, are there anything, I know when you do solar installations, those things happen, and I see on here there's a rebate to distributor, so I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, that, there's two things. I'll cover the warranty one. On the local rebate, there's not a federal type of rebate, and I'm not aware of one in this area for smart controls.
Okay.
There are quite a few in California. Doesn't help you here. So that's that. What you're seeing there in terms of that rebate, that's just for the handling and the shipping and the processing is all that is. that rebate to the distributor. That's
Yeah.
our local distributor.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, we'll go through that.
Would we be using these in the service areas, Todd?
No, they're
They just
much
replace.
smaller systems. Currently, we looked at doing that, and it just wasn't cost effective at this point, because you're impacting individual unit owners rather than, the community at large.
Okay, so this would only be in our parks?
Correct.
Okay.
We have had communities that have adopted it at the level that we're discussing here today, that have said, hey, look at what we're doing, here's an example, and then we've developed programs that could be deployed to individual homeowners who say, hey, I travel a lot, and I'd like for it to be adjusting when I'm not there, I'd like to be able to see it when I'm on vacation, or whatever it might be. So that is commonly a phase 2 after the community adopts those folks. You can advance this here. We spoke about the on-site hyperlocal weather station. Over there. Mobile access is something that's great for, be it Todd or the landscape people, to be in the field and making in-field adjustments, or turning the system on and off to look for any issues and be able to operate the system. Additionally, I mentioned the inspections, and this is something that I think would be a great benefit for Todd interacting with your landscape vendor, because what they are able to do is go through, turn the system on, make notes there just by pressing buttons there on the screen to identify leaks, breaks, any deficiencies, and be able to report those immediately. So it's very valuable, and as Todd said, he'll be alerted when that happens. There's a repository of those inspections, so they're there historically within the software. It's a radically better process, and it ultimately ends up in water savings whenever you're inspecting regularly, when those are reviewed and taken action upon. So those are this is not from you, I will say that, but that is what's common in the industry on the left, where you have handwritten notes that are made out in the field. It is a much more not only professional but practical and legible way using our software. And as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Ours enables the photo capture of any issues that broken head or line. So Todd or whomever is approving or wondering what they're talking about has a visual indication of that right there in the reports embedded there. Additionally, we spoke a moment ago about the reporting capabilities, so we're getting visibility of usage. That can be looked at for any period of time, and so if it is you want to look at a week, a month, a year, you're able to look at that. You can look at the usage, you can reference that against temperatures, highs and lows, you can look at where did the rainfall come, all of those things. You can look at that individual controllers or globally for the community. Another thing that can be done is asset mapping. So today, I think one of you asked, where are these community controllers? And oftentimes, they're in their location is kind of, if I had to go show you them, it would be maybe off of memory. And so this says, we're not off of memory. You can actually plot, just like the red dots there on the satellite map, you can plot where each individual controller is located. You can plot where anything is really. Your water meter, for instance, that might be something you want to plot. You can draw lines, you can do points, you can shade different areas. All of that is capable. So I see our clients over time becoming more elaborate with what they're mapping, but that's important data. And if you had, for instance, a new landscape company, or if they have a new employee, instead of them having to take weeks or months to learn something, they have all the data right there in a picture format. So asset mapping is a real benefit. You mentioned warranty. So this program includes a total equipment protection warranty. It's the only such warranty in the industry that does have lightning coverage. So that is I think, a major motivator, especially in this part of the country. for choosing our equipment, because ultimately it provides a fixed cost of ownership. So as long as you are on our program, there's initial, which I'll talk about in a moment, initial 36-month period, and then after that it can be renewed. As long as you are on that program, you have this level of warranty coverage that's included with that. Yes, sir.
Just on what you just talked about, if we go with 23 of these, right, Todd? I think it's 23 for Celebration. And then after the 36 months, we go to an annual plan and $400 per unit, $390 per unit. So you're talking about another, so it'd be like $92,000 a year? Is that what it's going to come to then annually?
Yeah, we've got those numbers if you want. I've got that in detail if you want to look at that.
I was just looking what you had here, $390 per year per controller with an annual service plan.
Yeah, I think I want to say it's around 88,000.
It was, I think it was 8160.
It's 8,100 I saw.
We're going to look at that number.
Okay, because it had to be.
So that's a little bit about the warranty. Any questions on the warranty? It's the industry leading warranty. It's the only type that covers lightning. It can be extended for the life of the product, which avoids surprises and avoids the community being liable if a lightning storm comes through and takes out your control system, which has a lot of wires in the ground and can be quite vulnerable. We take on that liability. In fact, I've worked with some association boards that had insurance policies protecting their control system that they've been able to eliminate because they have coverage here and they don't need additional coverage outside of ours.
So where's your local office? We get hit and we need something fixed, I mean.
Yeah, so that was, you mentioned the distributor, so we have product that's here on site. Your current landscaper has access to that, and I say on site, locally. We have over 1,000 distribution locations in the United States. But the equipment is such that your landscape vendor, if a controller gets taken out, it installs just like a normal irrigation controller that they would install every day. So they would be able to do that. They'd have access to product and knowledge. Now, we do recommend training for your landscape company, but they could go put it up today and get water out on the
So how long does it take to get that controller from your location mailed here?
We have a warehouse full, so we could do it, whatever UPS ground is. Typically, maybe 3 or 4 days if we were shipping from here, but more likely, I say from here, from Dallas, where our principal warehouse is. But it would most likely come from a local distributor that would have it in stock. And so that would be, in that case, picked up the same day.
So this is a pretty standard product that the distributor would most likely have unless
Yeah,
everybody got hit by lightning.
This is not a hand-built kind of
Okay.
custom situation. We, like I said, we have over 500,000 of these out there. We
Okay.
have warehouses of
Okay.
what you're purchasing.
That answer your question?
And the landscape company is aware of the product, the technology, so they're familiar with how it works and where to get parts.
Okay.
Yep. You can, click form there. This is the equipment. We've been mentioning 23 control systems. This is the detail. We don't have to go into a lot of it, but just a breakdown of what the equipment is. I already showed you the picture. Controller system, two-wire system that includes the motors. That's everything. And also the pedestals as well that the controllers sit on. So it's everything you can do with the retrofit of the equipment. We also have included the option of capital lease. That's popular with our community associations that are obviously ongoing entities. You're not like a one-time builder or developer that would come and leave. You're retaining ownership. So we put together a 36-month lease that gives you the option of $0 of payment up front. So you're not, you wouldn't in that case have to tap reserve. In visiting with Todd and Susan, they looked at a option to put $62,000 down from your existing reserves. So we've run the financial analysis 2 ways, with 0 down, using no reserves, or using the reserves that are in place that are earmarked for this project, knowing that obsolescence would be is upon us here. So that's gives you the two options in terms of the payments, equipment, software, 36-month term. And of course, we said that includes the warranty. You had mentioned the 390. We're going to look at what that math looks like. 390 per year per controller. That's after the 36 months. So that begins in month 37. And that includes all the warranty coverage and everything, the software and access, et cetera. That's all in. But that is a decision point here for you all, is do we want to put zero down, or do we want to use the reserve that we're here?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute here. Okay.
So on average, through the first 3 years, your annual irrigation water cost, which for reference in 2017, the water spend was $138,150. We've taken a blended average, assuming a 3.5% cost increase annually. We've assumed a 25% water savings. Our national average is 38%. We've assumed 25%. We know there's avoided replacement cost of about $8,000. Annual program cost on average with zero down is $38,000. So your net savings in the first 3 years would be around $5,000. And these are, again, just estimates, but to give you a feeling for what that looks like. The good news is you're getting new equipment, and you're at that point where
So let me ask a few questions here.
Yes.
You start with the 143 up there. So that was 15, 16, and 17, or 16, 17, and 18?
No, what that
17,
is-
18, and 19.
17, 18, and 19. And that represents what we've been billed by CCDD.
Yes.
Yes.
Which isn't entirely accurate, though.
For 1 year. That's 17's numbers.
Because these are numbers that are based on that spreadsheet that was always estimated over all these years. So we don't know, and we believe that we're actually ahead of the game on these numbers. That's what I understood from the board drive arounds.
We don't know, but older.
No, those numbers are based on what we've actually spent.
We've been
The differential at, 38% is the norm. That's why I asked them to go on a 25% annual water savings calculation, just to be on the safe side, so.
Yeah, because
I think we are
ECDD,
saving a little more money than possibly in some areas, based on how the Maxicom's set up now.
but they've billed us rather on a spreadsheet based on how many sprinkler heads we have and what the water output is on each sprinkler head, and it was assumed on what the numbers were.
Correct.
Okay, just want to be clear on that.
Okay, so basically, I think I understand what you're saying now. You're saying there was never a good water monitoring system because it was
It's all been
inadequate,
estimated
and it's been based
billing.
upon, there's this many trees and
Yep.
stuff like that. So, okay, so there's a risk there. The 35,000 represents 25%, which nationally you're at 38%, so you've got a thing there. Annual avoided replacement cost is what?
That is, so you have, of your 23 controllers, each year you're liable to lose 1, 2, maybe if there's a lightning storm, you could lose all of them. This just assumes over the 10-year period that I'll show you in a moment in the chart, that you have maintenance and repair and replacement related to the existing control system, that with our system, because of the warranty, it's new and everything is covered there, you would be avoiding that replacement cost.
And your warranty is for 10 years or 15 or 12?
It's for the life of the service plan.
It's for the life of the service plan, so it could be for infinity, in theory, if we wanted it to be.
Yes. The point is that we're taking that liability on, so you have the fixed cost.
So it's insurance more than
Yeah, it's really.
warranty.
Well, it's an avoided replacement cost, so basically, the annual cost at 38, which we'll get to your spreadsheet in a minute, so your savings is the savings up front, which will grow later. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
And this, by the way, these numbers that we're speaking of now assume zero down, no use of the reserves.
Right.
Next slide here is what it looks like after the 36 months, because in that 36 months, your payment is absorbing the cost of the equipment, the installation, service plan, everything is included there. After 36 months, now you've already covered the equipment and installation. You're strictly looking at the service plan on a going forward basis.
And the 3.5% annual water increase drives the 170 versus the 138 or whatever it was on the other page. How valid is 3.5% as a water increase cost? I mean, why is that a good number versus 10% or -3? I mean, help me with that.
The national average is somewhere between 6 and 8% nationally, so this is a more conservative view than that. Generally speaking, water utilities, water suppliers have infrastructure replacement cost, and that increases, so necessarily they have to increase their rates for water. I can't speak to exactly what that would be like. We certainly have rarely seen it be 0 or in decline.
What is it here,
Usually it's
Susan, Todd, do you know, in Florida?
I think we budgeted the past couple of years a 3% increase across the board.
And that's been pretty reliable. Okay. And the 8970, there, Vaughn, that goes to your question, which is that's the 23 times the 390, right?
Right.
Have you factored inflation into the 392?
No, that is not.
Is that a fixed cost, or there would be inflation in that 390?
It could be, but the trend has been a decline.
Okay.
So the 390 for the 23 units, after the 36 month, we go into, we own the equipment after 3 years. So then we go 390 times 23, and then we pay that annually,
That's correct.
and that would be the warranty and everything involved.
That's right. You got it.
And that would be about 90,000.
No.
9,000,
9,000.
8970.
2007.
But what I'm not, what's this, why does it say 390 per year per controller? What is, if you got 23 controllers at 390 per year, what's that mean?
That's the service plan for each one of those controllers is $390. So if you just multiply.
Okay, so we're talking 9,000, okay.
23 times 390 is the 8970.
All right, I got this.
Okay.
She's the treasurer, right?
Okay.
Throwing at me here.
You got the neurotic accountant.
I got more. While we're on that, I'm watching the money.
While we're on the
I'm the
upfront-
treasurer, I got
While we're on the upfront question, you have two models, one 0 down and the other one was $60,000+. That's, the 60 plus is the total cost, right?
No.
That's what we had available.
The
in the-
If you go to the next slide, this might, I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
This is the detailed model with 0 down payment. And on the following slide is with the 62 down.
So let's stay on this one here,
Okay.
on the prior one, please.
Prior one, okay.
The 0.
So, yeah, so,
I mean, I took 38 times 3 and got 114,000, and then.
That is the total proposal price.
Okay.
If you were just to write a check today.
Right, so I think the math is pretty straightforward, but then when I go to the next slide, go to the next slide for 1 second, Susan. And I take 17 times 3, I get 52, and then I add in the 62, I get 114, 130.
You should get 62.
117,371 is the 3 payments there?
I'm sorry.
That equals
Yes, yes, I'm
52,111.
sorry. That's the difference, the 114 minus the 62, I think.
Yeah, so my question is, I would expect if I give you a pot of cash up front, I would have a discount. I'm getting to the same number of money, so.
Is that rebate for the distributor different? If we were to pay it upfront, would we get that rebate
No,
directly?
because that is, I mentioned earlier, like they're retaining inventory for local supplies and all of that, so they are paid to do that.
So normally I would expect,
Excuse me?
normally I would expect if I was gonna finance a car and pay 114,000 over 3 years, and if I wanted to pay cash, I'd get it for 109 or something like that, because there's a time value of money. I'm getting to the same number whether I give you 62 or 0 on day one. So my question was, why wouldn't I have a reduced price if I give you 62,000 up front?
Our pricing is, in fact, we're basically subventing or reducing the insurance. We're effectively doing that. From a pure financial standpoint, a lot of our customers, because of the math that you're seeing here, will not do the down payment unless they just need to spend money out of their reserves because there's not a financial incentive.
Okay, so there
The
was.
question, though, was why isn't there a financial incentive?
Because there's not one.
Yeah, there's not.
What he's essentially, I think what you're really saying is if somebody has $62,000 they can give you today and they want a lower operating budget for their homeowners into the future, the 17 versus the 38, this gives a homeowners association flexibility for how they want to assess homeowners.
You realize a higher annual savings year one as opposed to year 4.
Right, so, but from a pure perspective of financing, if I believe I can get greater than 0% return on the monies, I'm better off going with the 38 3 years in a row.
That's correct.
The local perspective is Disney pass holders. 600 a year.
Oh, good, now we're talking about
You either pay 600 or you pay 150 in 4 payments. And that's the same thing we're doing.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
So
Treasurer's
basically,
back.
Yeah, treasurer's back.
That's,
I don't want to take too much
What
on
I-
that, but do you have any other
Right.
questions related to that model? It all boils down to what you just discussed. Would you like to put 0 down and have a higher
well,
payment
I
for
think
3
there's,
years?
well, though, we'll decide that, because this one says that if I pay the 17 each year, it only costs, that my net benefit is 370, and the one before that says my net benefit is, go before that, is 308 because I paid the 62 up front. I think the net benefit on both of them is identical, so I think that's actually a little skewed. But
It's relative to the payment, so yeah, you can,
So,
absolutely.
so that's just my point. But the real thing for us as a board is, maybe, I'll wait to do the summary at the end. Go ahead.
Okay. So some of the benefits of moving forward that I think we've hit largely on, you're getting a valuable technology upgrade with an option to have 0 impact on your reserves. And frankly, even if you did tap your reserves, they're funds that you have been accruing for, which is a prudent thing. A lot of communities, when I talk to them, they have, oh, we forgot we had those controllers out there and hadn't accrued. So commend you all for that. Significant water savings is something that is normal and regular. We have many case studies I could show you specifically for community associations if that was of interest. Improved landscape health and beauty is a big part of it. I'd say about half of our customers that do this electively don't even assume any water savings. They say, we needed a new technology, and this is low-cost insurance for a very expensive landscape investment that we have in our community. Protection against landscape loss is along those lines. Adjusting the system daily for the weather is a big deal. Water restriction compliance, we're seeing that increase throughout Florida, and you have to make changes that are related to that, and this enables that very easily. There's also our Save Water, Give Life global water initiative, where the purchase that Celebration will be making here would directly contribute to our cause, where we drill clean water wells in the developing world. Places like Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, a specific community will benefit from your community's decision to save water.
Okay, thank you. CCDD, totally outside of this loop, and if they want to do something with their stuff, that's their business decision?
Correct. Yes, it would not impact their system.
Have we reached out to them to see if they may be interested, especially if we turn around and share concern on the way the billing has
Tom
been
has
done?
spoken to Russ about the system, so I think they would like to see how it works for us before they take it on themselves.
It's not a surprise, okay.
I would hope that they would change and adapt to the new technology, but
We'll let Gary Moyer worry about
Yeah.
that. So to summarize what I had thought a year ago and where I still think we're at today is we've got very obsolete 20-year-old technology today. So at some point, you got to be honest, and you got to say 20-year-old cars don't drive well. This is a very good technology, 85 countries, 500 associations, thousands of users, and all that type of stuff. It gives us very good insurance type protection. We spent $4.5 million on athletic fields. If we can just control the watering and everything out there and not constantly kill Bermuda bass and stuff like that, which is, I think, is a real risk when I think about all the type of stuff there, it is a wonderful process. I think I would never put the 62 down. I would just do the 38 times 3 because I think the math makes more sense economically for us. But I'm hard pressed, and I welcome your comments. I know you've talked about technology a little, but I'm hard pressed to see why we wouldn't do this, and I will certainly open it for any comments from the audience.
I would say that with the opening of the ball fields, we're really now at an important timeline where I don't want to try and, sort of gerrymander, or not, that's not the word. I don't want to try and do some sort of MacGyver fix on a new set of ball fields and then go back and replace them later. This is the time to introduce this technology so that we start from the beginning with that asset and we're protecting it, as Brian was talking about, right from the beginning. If we screw up the watering on those fields, we've got a real problem on our hands. So to me, while this might have been helpful a year ago, it's now critical.
Well, playing off what you're saying, it doesn't seem as though there's any benefit, regardless of how many you have, how little you have, whatever the case is. Do we look into maybe putting it just at the fields, trying it out for a little bit, seeing if it really is all it's cracked up to be, and then continuing on?
It's interesting.
Let me just say that the.
I know sales guys don't feel like that.
Well, the financing options would be available at that.
We're not going to finance.
We're not, yeah, there's no incentive.
Or what do you mean by financing?
Well, the monthly payments, the lease is what I'm speaking of, where it's those monthly, the 36 months that model, there's a minimum of 25 units to do that.
So 23 got us there. It was close enough, you got us there.
That's what
So
we did.
basically-
Well, you had the floor equipment. But that's what it-
Okay. Gerald, you had a comment?
So, on one hand, this sounds like an excellent plan. Technology changes. So if the software changes, that's easy. What happens in 5 to 10 years when the mechanical parts may change or be updated?
Yeah, good question. So that warranty, the total equipment warranty, includes obsolescence, which is what you were just referring to. That is covered under the equipment warranty. Where that's most likely to be something that would be changed is the cellular air card, which is the device that dials it up into the cloud. That's the piece that would most likely need to be updated, and that is specifically covered in the warranty. So again, as long as you're on the service plan, which is the initial 36 months, and then the $390 per controller, that includes exactly what you just mentioned.
So your company has been in existence for 75 years, right?
Correct.
So it's not a startup or a fly-by-night. I'll ask the delicate question bluntly. Financial wherewithal? I mean,
Yeah.
you've had people ask that, so how do you answer that question?
I'll tell you, I mentioned that we're the choice of the leading 3 banks and many others, and I can assure you they audit us in detail.
Do you do inspections periodically on the equipment, or do we just call you if something's not working?
So that's an option. You can. When we are what we call commissioning the system, we are installing the equipment, we're programming plant type, sprinkler type, weathermatic technicians are coming to do that. We'll also do an initial inspection on day one as we're doing that commissioning and setup. So you'll have 23 reports, one for each controller, of what our technicians found. So you've got a good third-party set of eyes to look for leaks, breaks, and efficiencies. At any point, you could order, it's not included, but you could say, hey, we'd like weathermatic to come out, maybe we're changing landscapers, who knows what has occurred, but you could have us come back out for a fee and re-inspect the system. Now, if you did not do that, you still have access to our inspection software. So your landscape supplier, Todd, anyone would have the ability to go and do inspections, take the pictures, the forms, what I showed you there on the screen. So that is another an option for you. The software is always there. As far as who does it, that's an option to have us do it, or you could have another third party.
Has the contract been reviewed by Tom or anybody?
It has not.
So we need to have that done.
We need to have that done.
And Spark Fund is the actual,
Processor of the lease.
that's who holds the lease, so
That's correct.
there is another party involved, okay.
Other questions? Mike?
Mike Jackson, 413 Sycamore. What's the cost of a controller, just out of curiosity, if I was to buy one from your distributor today?
Let's see, it's gonna vary by the zones and the type. So you have a 2-wire controller, you have a standard wired type of controller. As a general rule, the controllers themselves are going to be less than $1,000. They're probably going to be anywhere from $250 to $1,000. That's the controller only. The weather station is that wireless device is going to be incrementally more than that, and then the air card is going to be a few $100s more. Say an all-in package for, which is what you'd be receiving, the controller, the weather station, the air card device, that's going to be around $2,000 to $2,000 to $3,000, somewhere in that range per control system.
But a controller is, if you just bought the unit, the controller would be under $1,000.
Correct.
Okay. I think the question you have to ask is, once you get to that 3-year point, are you going to continue on a full maintenance program or not? And my next question to you then is, how many of your customers stay in that full maintenance program all-inclusive?
Yeah, our renewal rate it's over 90%. It's I forget the exact number, but it's probably in the mid-90s, somewhere.
So 90% of your customer base is on that full program, continuously after the 3 years?
Correct. Those that have that air card device, we lose very few of them. Yes, that's correct. Usually it's because of change of ownership or something like that. Because that access
Sounds like the same thing.
is such a huge part of what you're getting, is that remote monitoring, the ability to receive alerts, the ability to reprogram. So yeah, it's I would certainly advise you going into this to assume that you will be keeping that 398. Yes.
Okay, well, my observation in the world of business is that these all-in maintenance contracts typically are a profit center for a business, obviously. I think we all know that. We've all bought the Sears warranties and everything else over the years. So, and no offense, I mean, that's your business. I suspect that's a profit center for them, too, to diversify their revenue. So you have to decide how much risk you want to take going forward, you know, in terms of replacement or insured. And it's just something to think about. My gut reaction, and I have no information to back this up, my gut reaction is to go naked after the 3 years. So just an observation, but I think it's an important decision.
Susan, would this impact the reserve study? Would the reserve study engineer have to recalculate or rethink based on the first 3 years and then looking beyond that? In other words, if we took that proposal that Mike's talking about of going without the protection?
I would probably, she knows that we're looking at Weathermatic, so she's prepared at any point in time. If you should decide that she pulls out that $25,000, $22,000 a year for replacement of controllers. So I would imagine that she'd just leave that in there and we'd have that $22,000, $23,000 a year.
Can I go back to Mike's comment real quick? I think that when we go to buy that appliance, we, as a consumer, say what's the added value to paying for that warranty or that additional cost. And I think that over a 3-year time frame, we would have to keep track of that and what type of flexibility, what type of savings are we realizing by having that, and then that will help us to make that decision moving forward.
So I understand you represent SmartLink and Weathermatic directly as the distributor, as the producer rather, the manufacturer.
Yes.
Todd, this might be a question for you. Have we reached out to the local distributors? You know, they are able to go ahead and carry your product and install your product. In fact, that's who we would be dealing with long-term anyhow.
Well, when I say they're distributors, they warehouse it and they offer some service. The people that would be actually installing it would not be distributors. That would be, like if we had a piece of equipment go down, that would be your landscape company.
That's going to be our contact moving forward.
Well, it depends on what it is. If it's, your landscape company would do exactly what they've been doing with your pre-existing control system, so they'd have a lot more tools, a lot more access, that type of thing. You still have, because you're on our service plan, you still have the access to call Weathermatic if you have questions, or during the initial installation, there's a 1-year warranty that's included in that component of it.
Right.
So it's really, I always call it a partnership between the community, between the landscape company, and between Weathermatic. I think it's all three are involved. Each has its different roles, Ours is product, equipment, support, and warranty, answer questions. The landscape company is doing their inspections. They should be monitoring the alerts from the system. The community should be giving oversight and approval of repairs of those inspections.
If we were to purchase this directly from a local distributor, what type of warranty comes with the product?
2-year.
2-year product. So we're getting 1 more year by
I say-
going directly through you all.
Yeah, that's a.
Let me sum that up a little bit. I see where you're going on cost savings and such. Could Yellowstone go to their distributor and buy all the pieces, parts, and put it in? Yeah, I'm sure they probably could. Would there be a cost savings overall? Probably not, because the people that we've worked with Weathermatic, all of their experts that have come out, they've looked at all the landscape plans, they worked out landscape coefficients and gallons per minute, knowing where flow meters should go. I don't know that we could get a landscape contractor to come in and do it cheaper than what they can when it's all said and done.
One other question. How many other CCMC communities are you guys working with right now? And this is not a loaded question, but I do see that you're reaching out to a lot of community managements. So Associa, last year you guys signed a big contract with. So is this a common, you're going after different big management companies?
There's the community part of the market, there's different parts of, there's institutions, there's corporate. For the community association market, we commonly will work through community association management companies because they're the ones being asked for, different water issues. I can't say exactly which ones, again, because a lot of times we're not contracted directly to work with it as we would here, what Todd just described. So I can't say, I don't know how many communities this is.
It's over 100, but I think that maybe another question of that is that the CCMC doesn't have any type of
I'm not
corporate
suggesting
agreement
that.
with you all that.
I'm not suggesting that.
There's
Okay.
not, no, there's not a formal relationship there. I would expect there are some, but I couldn't give you a specific number or examples there.
So you have, I was just going to say, subject to attorney review, I would be willing to put this on the agenda and take it to a vote and then move forward on
I just have.
it. I say that because I'm trying to move this along.
How long do we, in a couple minutes, how long do we have to decide on the annual plan? Do we have 3 years from installation? When do we have to decide if we want it?
For month 37,
Yes.
yes.
How long do we
You have
have?
until.
We have 3 years to
Yeah,
decide if we
exactly.
wanted to go with
You're not
that.
making that decision. What you're
Okay.
making the decision on is that initial.
So that can be decided in month 35.
Exactly.
Can that be decided in month 42 or 62? Can you pick that
Can't go back.
up?
It's month to month out there, yeah, I assume.
Or would you want us back at that point?
If your 36 expires, can you still get
wouldn't
it?
want the warranty to lapse. If you let it lapse on the equipment, then the system would have to be kind of requalified, if you will.
You gotta make your decision. You've talked to Weatherbirds, or Weathermatic, sorry, competitors, and chose them because you think it's the best technology. Fair
I do,
statement?
yes.
Okay. So,
I'd be interested, I like where you're going with it. 2 things. One, I'd like to consider maybe going to a smaller area, maybe just the fields, testing it out, learning it, understanding it. And 2, possibly reaching out and getting a bid from a local distributor for the full package and see what they offer.
One thing I will note, if you're sensitive to the fields and the equipment that you just mentioned there, is for Weathermatic to do the installation and the programming, commissioning, all the things that are included in the proposal. We don't start that tomorrow. If, let's say you approved it today, we wouldn't start that tomorrow, right? There's a lead time there. So to answer what you were asking about the 37-month, but I'd say the most sensitive area right now relative to some of the urgency that you described is giving us the go-ahead to get it on our schedule for our technicians, because it's not just a quick in and out process. The
How long do you
installation-
anticipate it would take? If we gave you the approval,
Yeah.
say this week, what would it take?
Yeah, generally, right now, we're somewhere between 40 to 6 weeks before we're beginning a project of this scope. This is where it really gets into the time issue here is not the installation of the controllers. That's, again, taking the wires out, putting them new in, doing that 23 times. You have a 2-wire system. One of them has 48 zones, so that means 48 places in the ground. The decoder needs to be changed. And the biggest issue is the flow sensing. That means we're cutting into the mainline pipe and installing the actual flow sensor itself. So there's digging.
I want to refocus just a second.
Yes.
For the ball fields, we don't have anything there right now. I mean, we're manually watering those, right?
Only because the power's not on. Once the power is hooked up, then the timers will start going into effect. It's just not going to be the same flexibility as these timers.
Well, do we have to do what he was just describing at the ball fields? We're going to have to replace equipment? So we've got new equipment in the ball fields we're going to replace before it ever gets used?
It's like standard equipment that comes along with it. It's not 20-year-old equipment, though, like you've seen throughout the rest of your community. It's standard stuff that comes with the irrigation.
But there will be,
Yes.
If you include the ball fields, absolutely.
okay.
You have to include the ball field.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just,
It's two controls.
I'm a little surprised that we didn't, I don't know, maybe.
Put them in the beginning.
Yeah,
Well, you had to buy the product.
right, okay,
And the product didn't happen.
okay, all right, so.
One thing I would suggest, if the community said, we like this proposal, we want to move forward
Mhm.
with it. If I were in your shoes, I would come to us and say, we realize it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to schedule, and then it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks probably to get the installation done. We would like for you to place a priority on these new ball fields, and I can tell you that we have 4 technicians in Florida, and if you said, hey, I need these 2 control systems installed and applied before everything else, because this is new and it's our priority, we'll accommodate that as part of the program. So it doesn't have to wait until everything else. We'll jump on that for you.
That would certainly be my recommendation, just because of the investment of the asset.
While you're here, for easy math, if we signed this June 1st,
Yeah.
what would your contract state that everything will be done and finished?
First, I would see at that time, I would look and see what does our workload and availability look like for our technicians. What I'm estimating today is that would be 4 to 6 weeks is when it would begin.
Full picture, finished.
And then full picture, what we discussed is 3 months, full picture from that June 1st.
September, we would definitely be finished.
That's what we've projected.
Okay.
All right, but Kevin, what would you like us to do? Do you want to
Do
do
we
these
need
2
some sort of a-
fields only quote?
I'd like to see.
Well, I think what he's saying is that they can't do the fields only because.
Well, you can't
for
offer
this
that.
pricing, and for you to be involved, you needed 25 controllers, right? So if we said just the fields only.
So if we did
that's
fields
not-
only, it'd be a cash outlay up front, is what you're saying?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Give us a pricing, we've got your pricing for the whole thing, give us a fields-only pricing, cash up front, not a problem. Local full package, Todd, you can think about that, what that would mean. But then you gotta think about what would it might be cheaper to buy the 23 controllers, but what else would have to be done, and is there any cost benefit or not? You can almost do it fields versus fields. Would that be fair, or a whole community? You can think about that, and then we can,
You just won't have enough information by Wednesday for a vote on Wednesday. It would probably be the June meeting at that point then.
we've got workshops in June, too. I mean, we can,
2 in June.
yeah, so, I mean,
We still need the attorney to review it. We have questions that the technology committee did go ahead and ask, so
Are there any of those that I should answer while I'm here? I just don't.
I think you've answered most of them.
Most of them,
The one that I didn't see that you answered was data sources cited for assumptions, and you said the average increase in water pricing was
6 to
6 to 8%.
nationally.
But
Well,
what
I think
about,
I've seen 3%, so that's in line with that.
and then you also talked about the other assumption, which was the water, and there was another, the 38% is what your average savings
Yes.
are, and where ours was 25.
All right, I think
Okay.
what we could leave you with here is, you've got a good product, we've got an obsolete product, so we have to move towards a solution. I don't think anyone's arguing that point. We'll work out some of these other details, some probably in 3 years and some over the course of the next month, but we do very much appreciate you coming here. It moved us off of dead zero, which is at least is a good thing and gets us the 30-day clock moving or so. Anything else from the board, or are we good?
No, we're
That's all for now.
Yeah,
Bonnie,
the
yes.
legal review, I will tell you that that contract has been reviewed by other communities, so.
Probably not going to be earth-shattering, but we got to do it.
We'll definitely tell you to do that. I just want to give you the confidence that it's not a brand-new contract that no community's seen before. It has been for that.
So can
Thank you.
Just to clarify, are you wanting me to go back and talk to the landscape company to get prices compared to theirs for the same equipment?
I don't know.
And what would you like me to take off my list to do that?
Kevin? Well, I'd like to be sure Yellowstone is fully on board with this. One, they're going to be a main
It's in
user.
their contract that they will be fully on board.
I understand that, but it's nice to have that conversation. And I'd like to see if they have any input, any expertise, any other communities they've worked with this software.
We have done, we just.
I think-
Yeah,
Okay.
and they have.
But
And I think what Kevin's really asking is this is $114,000, and we talked to ABC Retailer down the street, who also works with Yellowstone, and their price is $67,000, then we should all be fired for not asking the question. So we really should come back. I mean, if the difference is 114 versus 103, and they've got 75 years' worth of experience, you do it. But let's at least ask that question. Is that a fair
That's it.
synopsis?
That's
And- And then we will be ready, if we can get all this done, we will be ready to make a decision at the June board meeting on June 23rd, 24th, whatever that date is, so that we'll move this along.
And we can get those numbers by then on the separate field cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what the cost would be if we did the athletic fields first as a test, just to learn better.
Very good.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item we are going to go to is the new website launch and post-implementation support.
Brian, do you mind if Patrick just gives us an update of where we are today, and then we can talk about with the possible future costs for support, if needed, if the board decides that that's the direction that we want to go?
Sure, tell us where we're at today.
Okay, beta testing has, beta testing,
Sorry, what? Oh, no, go ahead.
beta testing is complete. We have presented the website to
Louder, please.
Can you put-
Technology Committee. Can you hear me now? The Technology Committee has taken a look at the website. I did receive a response from Stephen Fraunfelter, but no one else. And so. Okay. so
Can you
then
come
that
up?
was-
Pull the chair.
Pull up a chair.
You can sit over here if you want. There's a microphone.
Sit over there, you can be on TV.
The Technology Committee was asked a second time to review the website. We did an initial look at it, provided some comments, and most of them were cosmetic, but again, they're still reviewing it. Right now, it has positive responses, being user-friendly and from the residents, so we don't see any issues with it right now. It's been being worked on for over a year. I gave my Microsoft, I mean, I have, part of the technology committee, there's 5 to 7 guys that are actually IT experts. And I told them, let's not get down to the bits and bytes, let's just see for user friendliness, and so far, there hasn't been any dramatic, issues with the thing, so.
So Jim's opinion has definitely changed, is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I haven't got much more out of it than from there, So I think that we should go ahead with what we have, and then we, again, any process can continue to be modified over time.
And I think Patrick's prepared to discuss a little bit about what that would look like if some minor changes needed to happen after we went live. But, I mean, ultimately, you're going to hear from him that we're in the same position. We think it's ready to go live. And go ahead and pick up with the, I know you all asked for some power users to look at it. You asked for a technology committee to look at it, and we've done that up to this point.
Right, and so between the power users, the beta testers, and some internal staff, we have come to the conclusion we're ready to go. Those edits that were provided to us were moved over to the developer, which has taken a look at it, kind of scaled some of them down. Some were easy to make, others he's finalizing this week, and so we should be ready to go. Since beta testing is over, we should be ready to go pretty shortly. He and I have a meeting this morning, a conference this morning, to see where we stand, and if that's a sooner date than the end of this week. And I'm pretty confident that we're ready to start promoting this through social media platforms to say, start the promotion of it. And that will take place through our social media aspects, the website, the seller service, push, things of that nature.
What is your new launch date for this website?
We don't necessarily have a specific launch date at this point in time. I mean, I think that we could go live probably within the week. It may make sense to just say June 3rd is the first Monday of the month. We could go June 1, which is a Saturday, I believe. But we wanted to make sure we implemented what the board had asked us through our past meetings, which was those power users looked at it, technology committees looked at it. Patrick's reached out and got some quotes on what some additional support would be. I think he's prepared to tell you today that the support that we have within the contract will provide us support, but if you want some above and beyond, there's a $5,000 option where they can come here on site and they can be support here. And then there's another option, I think it's around $1,000, where they can get the job done within 2 hours, for up to 8 hours worth of work.
And I think, and to David's point, he brought that question up. The contract did call for that support.
The contract did not call for support after the website, but it did end basically at the launch. So we have the developers at our beck and call, for example, all the way up to launch, and everything that includes launch. So if
What's your time frame? What is launch? What is that 7 days, 2 weeks, 30 days, or just that one day?
Pretty much
That
for
one day?
For that instance, that moment in time. If we flip the switch on a Monday, for example, everything tied to within hours of that day, the next day, that's launch. That's them delivering the
So
website.
that's included.
If something happens a week later that's not necessarily tied to the website, launch of the website, then that would move into a maintenance aspect,
So
or something
website-
that's above and beyond.
So they said they would do website hosting for 12 months after the launch date. What did hosting mean?
Hosting is just something on the back end where you are tied to a
Storage.
usually a
Storage, pure and simple.
cloud-based
You have to do
storage
those
site.
contracts anyways on an
Okay,
annual
fine,
basis.
okay.
And
So
let me,
that's just something that you don't actually pay that first year.
And
Let me add-
hold on a second. This platform is the platform that, the IDGB LLC, that's the company that management did recommend. You guys had bid it before, and it uses the same platform that your current website does, the back end. Is that right?
WordPress. Is that what you're
WordPress.
asking? Yes, WordPress.
So what is different? Because one of the big things that we took your recommendation for on this website was your familiarity with it.
With WordPress.
Yes.
Yes.
So to go ahead and throw another $5,000, 25% of what we already spent, which we're already over budget, back at it.
Kevin, can I be perfectly clear?
Yeah, please.
We don't believe you have to have that. The board asked us to look at what those numbers would be if there was, to have some above and beyond additional support. And part of that conversation was stemmed from the last launch of our last website, where it was an upgrade to a different platform for the forum. And to move to that upgrade, we had to get people logged back in again, had to get new username, new accounts, and that caused a lot of problems. We're using the same forum on this website, which will not cause us to get people to re-register, re-log in. So our biggest headache from the last launch, I think, has been taken out on this one.
So what are you recommending that we do then for support?
We believe that the support's available through what we already have. If we want to double down just to make extra sure that we have that availability and have them here on site, then that $5,000 option's there. If we want,
And what was the $1,000 option?
that's for them at their location to move us up to the top of the list within 2 hours to get something done, for up to 8 hours worth of work.
I have built and rebuilt websites for my business for the last 15, 20 years, and I've used vendors around the country, most of whom I've only met once or twice in person. I don't know that the in-person training makes a big difference unless your staff is incapable of running it, and since it's based on a WordPress theme, it's pretty straightforward. It seems to me that remote access, remote service is probably, from my standpoint, is probably enough. I think that the danger in a very real sense is that you're looking at 4 people who are all have terms ending on CROA at the end of this year, and the quality of this launch of the website is going to be something that we're going to be held accountable for. And so, in a very real sense, I think we're asking you, do you need more resources to make this right, to do it properly? There'll be a time to talk about what happened and went right and went wrong in the process later, I think. But for where we stand today, what I want to hear from you is an assurance that when you launch this thing, you're ready to launch and your team is ready and the support is ready. And by support, I mean our front office staff know how to use the site, know how to help our residents if they have a problem, can get them up and working and going, so that while nothing's perfect and nothing's, glitch-free, it generally works as advertised, and people finish that process and say, yeah, okay, I'm good.
And so that's what I'm coming to you with today. I do have another meeting, like I said, scheduled today with the developer to iron out anything and get his feedback on where we actually stand. But from our prior conversations last week and everything that I've essentially moved over to him from beta testing, we're ready to go. It will never be 100% without items that need to be addressed. But
Button's on right now, and it's working.
yeah.
So there's always going to be something that someone's going to suggest.
And so those minor edits,
You haven't been in it for a while.
those minor edits will always be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah, I'm not
carried
I'm
out
not trying to
by-
hold you to an impossible standard, Patrick. I just want to know that when, 6 months from now, when people are asking me, what did you do about the website relaunch, that we will point back to this meeting and say, we asked, do you need any other resources to make this happen? And what I hear you saying is, no, we're okay. We think we can do this, we can make the transition.
Other than the $1,000 off-site support in case there's something that needs to be bumped up.
I have no
for-
problem with approving that, if that's what you need.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
hold on, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So we have 3 paths that we can take. We can go ahead and keep the contract how we set it up with the website and go ahead and launch it. You launch it here, you're able and capable. We can go ahead and do the $1,000 extra, little extra insurance for this third-party vendor to help. Or we can go ahead and do the large picture and have them come here and hold our hands. So this is going to go somewhere else really quick. What does CCMC stand for?
It stands for CCMC.
What does it stand for?
The name of the company is
Yes.
CCMC.
Capital Consultants.
That's the old name.
Okay.
The name of the company is CCMC.
Okay. So CCMC is no longer a consulting company, and that's where my concern is they assisted with getting Celebration off the ground. Ironically, the 4 people that are sitting here all signed an RFP that we wanted to go ahead and do. And I'm not suggesting that we go down that path yet, but I believe that this board needs to look at the RFI and start looking into getting information for moving forward. I'm hearing this type of a situation that has nothing to do with our team on site. But I don't think they have the support they need outside of Celebration to do our level of service that we need. And because of that, I know we have Mitchell doing the UCF study, but my frustrations are at an all-time high. And I don't think that's a secret. This is something, the first order of business that I wanted to go ahead and look at was this website, because I was ashamed by it. It was embarrassing of this community. And previous boards may have gone the cheap route to go ahead and make that happen. And 7-Eleven was the first restaurant listed on our website, and that's how Celebration was known. But nobody ever noticed it. Nobody ever did anything about it. So I think we're at a time that we need to go ahead and look and get that homework done and do the research and do what we were elected to do. Because just like the website company is a vendor, CCMC is a vendor. And we're here to work for the owners and protect the owners. And there's a lot of conversation that we're having behind the scenes right now. But if the four of us here do not at least express interest into going into the RFI, not RFP, RFI, and get the information, then we're doing a disservice to the community. So this website, you know what, at this point, we've had meetings, we've had threads, we've had emails, we've been going on every month asking for updates, written updates, something, and we've gotten nothing. And here we are. It's...
Well, you have received some information, and I'm here today to tell you that within the next week or two, we're ready to go.
Patrick, with all due respect,
Let me answer.
Can I ask a website question real quick, though?
Because
Patrick, I know that there's been an extension on the time frame when this was due. Was there a cost involved in that extension from the vendor? Did we have to pay them more for the extension?
Absolutely not.
And so they did extra work above and beyond the contract to fix the old site.
Correct.
To get it to where it was prepared and ready to go for this new site, for this launch. And what we heard from the board over and over again was get it right, do it right. We want to make, and Jackson just made the comment that, you know, you guys are going to be up for re-election. We want to make sure that we have the proper working website. That's what we're doing.
Election. If I do this right, I don't have to do it again.
Okay, so let me go. I'll follow up on what Kevin said, and I'll talk about the website. I did an email yesterday, which you're all very aware of, because frustrations were extremely high. And I have to admit, I'm sitting here this morning listening to you, and I'm stunned. I have asked. So what we're doing now, I am writing a one voice of the board memo about every 10 days that addresses 100 issues. It averages 4 or 5 pages on a Word document basis. We're having 2 workshops a month, we're having a board meeting a month, and we're coming, and yesterday frustration hit the highlights. We had company in, and I got 4 hours, and I went to town. With several responses, including the fact that our 2-point people on that thought we were going to come to today, and they thought the decision was going to be whether or not we have to scrap the website, not whether we're ready to talk about a launch site. So their communication has broken down, and any statement that communication hasn't broken down just would not be true. I'm very happy to hear what you just said. Thank you for that. As far as request for proposal is concerned, I thought it was a 2020 item. I'm fully going to support a request for proposal. I think we have to go there with the 2020 budget. And I think it's been talked about in the community for a long time. I think we need to do it. We need to start gathering information. We do it. So I think the frustration here is the board is very frustrated that we think we have been trying to communicate in spades, and the communication back is what has frustrated us. And I think that's what you hear coming back. Is that a fair synopsis?
Very fair, thank you.
And I'm just trying to cut to the chase and avoid.
Well, and I know, Brian, you and I spoke on Friday of last week, and you asked to speak with me separately, so if that's a conversation you'd like to have with me as the executive.
We probably would, but I figured since we already got it there, it was good to have.
And I know we had set a May 1st launch date, and there was direction from this board to May 1st wasn't that essential. It wasn't mission critical to go May 1st.
It was November 1st, December 1st, January 1st, February 4th.
I have said
March
all
1st.
along that the deadline for December of when it was supposed to be done originally was not completed because we had to repair documents that were not labeled, and it was the developer spending a lot of extra work. And again, at no additional cost, so
Let
it's
me
in
go
the
back to
budget.
one comment that I did say. I expressed that I don't believe this team on site has the support they need. And I'm talking about more than the website. I'm talking about delays with different vendors, farmer market confusion, website, magazine, there's a million things that we can go ahead and discuss. I mean, right today, I think there was supposed to be a level of service that was pushed back from January, and that was the new expression, I think, that you requested it be called, was level of service, by today. You know, so it's, you
I'm
need to
prepared to have
have
the conversation today. Just spoke with Brian as the president, which is my connection, my liaison in between meetings, and we had this conversation about when we're gonna have the level of service.
Okay,
conversation. So, I feel like
We'll go to level of
conversation
service with
taking place.
executive session later. Let's just do that.
So website, we'll see what happens. You don't need anything
Stephen?
further.
May I make a
Don't embarrass
comment?
us.
Go ahead.
As the chairman of the technology committee, which is new, we have looked at it. They are still looking at it. Like anything, be it weathermatic or any other thing as in technology, it is changing. Okay, the issue of it is that what you have right now, we're not pleased with, we've grown out of, and staff, CCMC and all that have gone forward. Okay, we're now on version 2.0. It is my recommendation as the chairman as to what is currently present, launch it. If you want to pick the date as the 3rd of June, announce it, get it done, move forward, and then we can, you know, we look for 2.1 or 5 or whatever. But the issue with the thing is, I've reviewed it. I'm just a dumb old Army colonel. It lays things out a little bit easier. It's not perfect. I got that. It never will be perfect. But let's put it into operation and we can go from there.
Who were the other beta testers besides you guys?
I was not selected as a beta tester. Okay, the
I'm
technology
just asking
committee-
Patrick.
Yeah.
We had Eric Overgaard, Scott Sanders, and internal staff.
Okay.
Okay, and Eric was the creator of the previous website. So, I mean, you know, part of the challenge here is that boards have different philosophies. The prior board to us had a philosophy of pinching pennies and being very tight and not spending a lot and doing things as economically efficiently as possible. I think that's a fair statement to say. And so they built a website economically. We found out that website was in fact economical and not very user-friendly. So we've spent the money to go outside and get it done right, and you've identified in your email, Patrick, a series of things that were deeply buried in there that are now being fixed. If the creator of the original website is beta testing this website, has he signed off and said it's okay? You're shaking your head no.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't even know that he was asked for it until the.
Well,
it's funny. I missed 2 meetings. One was dog park, and one is this. So.
Well, I didn't know this either. I'm just asking.
Well, if we remember back, Vanessa was going to be the liaison from the board to get us some beta testers, and she came back with Eric Oppergard and Scott Sanders. And that's who we
What's interesting about
I'm just asking a simple question.
What's
Let me just
interesting-
ask-
hold on.
Let me just finish the one question. Have you gotten approval from those two, Sanders and Oppergard, that say, we think you're ready to launch or pretty nearly ready to launch?
I did receive information from Scott Sanders. Eric did not place anything in writing, but we had an initial conversation, and, you know, I was still waiting for some information. I didn't receive anything last week, so.
Could you ask for a written confirmation from him?
I can, yeah,
Okay.
and that's all part of,
Okay.
you know.
I mean, I think he's in a good position to know.
Start this.
That's the other point I'm making. I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, what's just interesting is, to me, I actually requested when the technology committee got created that we throw the website at them, and management said, no, we're too far along with the website, we don't want to get it, you know, get anybody else in the way now. Then we have people that aren't even on the technology committee going ahead and putting it, and it's nothing against Eric, because I asked him if he would like to be on the technology committee, and he said he didn't have the time. So, it's just, it's mind-boggling, it really is. It really is.
Just real quick for correction, I think that my statement has been all along, and we can go back and check tapes, but I've been saying that the technology committee objectives that you gave them were to develop a plan, a strategic technology plan, not to get into the weeds of the implementation of the website. And then the last board meeting, it was asked just to have them run through it and do a quick overview of it.
Perfect.
Okay.
So your recommendation is that we go live from the technology
And
committee?
June 3rd makes a lot of sense. It's the first Monday of the month. We can start advertising it now that that's our go-live date and make it happen on June 3rd.
And we want to spend $1,000 then, is that what we're saying, to make sure we've got 8 hours on call?
It's 8 hours at 1,000, or it's
8 hours,
175?
125 an hour times 8
Or
hours.
it's 175 if you don't, per hour if you don't go with the block of 8 hours, according to the contract.
And-
So
but
if we want to wait,
The manager's recommendation is the 8 hours.
It's probably nice to just have the 8 hours as that extra.
Do you have a limitation on when you can use it, or is there a time frame, or it's just out there?
Just a collective of 8 hours, so it could be an
So you
hour
don't lose
today,
the money then?
2 hours the next.
I really want to support it. I really do, but at the same time, I wish it was upfront, and we knew when we had $15,000 for this, and we spent almost 17?
But
on
that's
the
part
other
of
side-
the original scope, though, was not
It's-
through
I'm just
change
gonna
orders.
say-
On the other side, I don't want another walled, so I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well, I think the dollar amount is not a huge.
It's what we originally
Right.
budgeted when we
So
did this.
I would rather give you some resources, do our best to make sure that we're supporting our community and our residents, and make sure that we've done the best we can do under those circumstances. So to me, it's kind of a straightforward.
so there's nothing else to review as far as the tech committee. We got to depend on that.
Tell you what, I don't want, what I'd like to
We're not
do
experts.
is David will be here Wednesday. And since David and Kevin were the two reps, and David wrote an email yesterday.
Yeah, I'd like
too,
to
we
hear
need to
David.
wait on David. We're gonna add this, we've had the conversation, David can review it in advance. On Wednesday, we'll discuss finalizing this June 3rd date, but give David the chance to answer questions. Is that a fair?
I think that's fair.
Response? Jackson, you
Yes.
heard that too?
Yeah.
So that's it. We
Table
will,
till Wednesday.
we're gonna, when we do the agenda for Wednesday, we'll add this as a discussion item in the action items, and we'll give David a chance to have any comments he has, and then we can talk about June 3rd and $1,000 on Wednesday, and obviously
When's
we
he
gotta
get
make
back?
decision. He gets back Wednesday morning, I think, so.
So you will have had your, Patrick, you will have had your.
I
meeting
apologize.
With the vendor,
Mike,
right.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't hear your question.
You will have had your meeting with the vendor before Wednesday.
Right.
So you'll have an additional update. You'll reach out to Mr. Oppergard and ask for his reaction. So we'll have that on Wednesday as well. Anything else that we can support you with between now and Wednesday?
No, the developer is sending a maintenance agreement if you'd like to. I don't have that with me right now, but it is coming, and that's just
Okay.
the standard annual maintenance agreement for anything above and beyond what the website.
We should get it looked at, yes.
Correct.
Okay. So, I think,
I don't know if you want to, because my comment is really about the overall discussion, not necessarily about the website.
go ahead.
Okay, Eileen Barr, 11.
We opened it.
1138 Mosaic Drive. I'm just sort of curious whether, particularly Kevin and I are on the same page here. 2 years ago, when we were talking about whether, the community was talking about whether to go out for an RFP, and to me, this always gets confused to me in people's minds when we have a discussion. Well, we're happy with our staff. I'm not, I think what you're saying is you're not talking about our staff on site. We know what they do, if there's a problem, it's taken care of. My question, I remember discussing this in depth with Dave Anderson. The question to ask is, what does CCMC do?
Correct.
What do they bring to the table? And I think at that point, we were being promised, I thought, a brand new, take us out of the 20th century, put us in the 21st century, not just the website, but everything having to do with our technology. And my feeling is that you run into all kinds of problems all along the way. I think it's gotten better. I think Patrick does a great job with the tools he is given. To me, they just seem, and I'm not gonna ask you to answer that question, antiquated. One day on the dog park, I needed to check a list of payments, and literally somebody came out with 2 Post-it notes to say, these were the checks that got cleared, and we've been through this before. Are we on the same page?
I think so. I feel as though Celebration, the team in Celebration is in a silo, and we have a great network that they should have.
Yeah,
When it's, hey, we're having an issue with the website, with the dog park, or this or that, and we can only do so much to help them. So we're trying to
I think the
get their
best
distance
avenue
family to come
is
in
for me to
and
hook
help
you
them.
up with Joseph Cook, for you guys to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And that's probably the better place for that.
Well, I've reached out to you and him. Being a board member is easy until you're on the board. That's what we have established. Parks and Facilities Master Plan update.
The community-wide survey was completed it was supposed to be done on Monday. The vendor asked if we could keep it open just a few more days. They felt like they had a good number, but wanted to just see if they could increase a little bit by keeping it open through Friday. I know they did close it Friday during the day, and some folks reached out to us and said, we'd still like to do it, so we went back to them and asked them to keep it open through the end of the day on Friday. So it did close on Friday. I'll follow up with them today or tomorrow to find out where they are with the numbers on that, how many they received. But now the ball's in their court. They're compiling all the data and would have a draft plan to us, hopefully shortly, that we can schedule for an upcoming meeting.
Perfect. Awesome. Osceola County agreement?
I have some numbers that I need to get to them today. They have the cost estimate for the construction, but they asked for value of land and then the design and engineering also. But the numbers that we gave them already,
That's over the 2.1
That already goes
already.
over the $2.1 million. So, but I'm going to provide that
Okay.
information to them.
And they're meeting on the 24th to discuss it?
Now, they're meeting today.
They're meeting today.
Yeah, and then I think the
That's awesome.
21st was supposed to say 22nd, which
Well,
is your meeting.
I was going to say, because I thought they were
Yeah.
meeting on 5/20 and we're
So
the
your meeting's
22nd.
on Wednesday.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
And you'll update us by email?
I will, and I know George, the county attorney, and Charlie through Larson Associate have been going a little bit back and forth, just on a couple words. Nothing major changing, it just some of the wording, the legally wording. But I'll make sure you have the most up-to-date
Okay.
agreement with your packet.
I wouldn't, I'm not sure if everybody here is aware, there's a big situation with coal ash going on down in coal ash. I don't know if y'all have heard about it. Today's meeting at the Commissioners is going to be insanity. I would not be surprised if this got tabled. We're just going to share that.
I agree, that's why I wanted to ask for an update.
Sure, we'll follow up with them and see if they're tabling it.
Reserve study, Susan?
The reserve study, the reserve engineer was here the last week of April. We should have our preliminary, she's out of town this week, so by the end of next week, we should have our preliminary report. We'll have a couple of weeks to review it, and we expect to have it by the end of June.
Charter revision, Jackson?
Charter Revision has met a couple of times, and we have a fully staffed task force. We had 2 members of the original task force who attended and then declined to stay on because of the time commitment that was involved. We reached out to 2 other individuals, and we have added Bill Grindle and Leslie Reynolds, sorry, to the task force. They've agreed to serve. Gary is, Hudspeth is the chair, and Kathy Van Tassel is the vice chairman, and they are working with their groups and setting meeting dates and reviewing specific requests from the board, from previous boards, from management. They have a very aggressive timeline, and they're doing terrific work.
And Bill and Leslie had been to a couple of the previous meetings.
They had, and they had
know what's
expressed
involved,
interest.
so
Yeah.
Susan Bona dropped and Al, and they just had too much travel and work type stuff. And it's not a small commitment, so it's fully understood. Vaughn, safety implementation for Lakeside, basketball court and such?
We do have security in place now at the Lakeside, Don't want to disclose the hours, but there is a security guard there now. In the interim, we hope we're going to get some bid quotes from Todd probably on putting gates at Lakeside to keep the cars out when it's closed, rather than just some barricades. Some nice folding gates. I think the proposal was to put gates up that match the fence that goes, the green fence that goes over the bridge that goes into Lakeside. So if we can get those gates that lock up, I think we'll solve a lot of the problems with cars that go down there after hours and do whatever they do down at Lakeside. I went down last night twice. I went down about 7:20 and met with the security down there at Lakeside. They are on site now. And again, I went down at 10:30 last night and spoke with the guard there. So he has went around, talked to the kids. He's a very nice man and enjoys talking with them, but he is very firm in telling people, you know, you have to be out by closing time. So it seems, it was the first night. Last night was the first night we had security there. So I think hopefully we'll see an improvement there and a less of a opportunity for things to happen down there that people are concerned about. So they'll be down there, I think the contract's 3 months.
7 nights a week.
And hopefully by that time, we can maybe do something about the gate down there, whatever. Todd, did you want to report on the gate at all, or not? Or we're not doing that now?
We have some numbers available that we can add to the
looked
next
at it.
meeting, and we can start discussing what we want to actually install.
We have to go to TCC on
Yes,
this
he's
too?
in the process of talking to TCC or getting some review of that.
Okay. But that's it. I mean, so we did listen to the residents, and we did put security down there, and hopefully we'll see an improvement in what's happening down there. Seal?
Thank you. Celia McFadden, 1007 Celebration Avenue. Thank you for getting the security that was
Everybody
promised
here.
to the board and whoever else. But is
A
the
butt?
guard...
You have a butt?
I know, sorry. But is the guard checking for CROA ID?
He was.
So
He checked-
the scope for the guard is to check IDs to make sure the people that are in the park are CROA residents or they're visitors with the resident. So you get 3 per card. Make sure there's no illegal activities taking place, and if there are, contact the sheriff's office immediately. And then making sure that there's nobody in the park after 11 o'clock.
He was down there, he checked the kids on the park, on the basketball court, and he also went down to people that were parked down in the circle.
The circle, yeah.
And told those, just to make his presence known, and so he is checking everything. So we'll hopefully see some change.
And as we have the conversation around the gates and the level of service and stuff like that, we're going to talk about more about Lakeside, the athletic fields, and how we think about security on all these places. So this is not like, hey, we did this, we're done. This is part of a process that we're going to go through as we continue to evolve this. Right?
And I just encourage people to go down and talk to the guy. I mean, hopefully it's going to be the same gentleman down there the whole time, but on occasion, obviously people have days off or can't make it, but generally it's going to be one. And I spoke at length with him. He seemed like he's very competent and.
So it'll be every night?
Can't say.
That's the intent, and I just don't want to go into the hours.
Okay.
But yeah, from what I understand, it's every day, various hours, and we can always adjust them as
Just
need be.
don't do anything wrong down there, because you'll get caught.
In fact, last night I went down there, and at 10:30 I was talking to the guard. I rode my bike down there, and I was talking to the guard and staff in the pickup truck that goes around the monitor, came in and tried to throw both of us out, security and me, out at the same, they're closing. He said, no, you got to get out.
Well, they were doing that from the beginning.
Well, so that's pretty efficient, I guess. I mean,
Okay, can I ask one more question? I might be having a senior moment here. What happened to in the beginning of the meeting, the top 10 priorities? What happened to that in this discussion?
If I can summarize, I think we're going to request an executive session with Joe Cook. I think that's what's going to come of it.
Okay, but no, actually slightly different. On the agenda here was the top 10 priorities for CROA and the community, and we're down to 3 board members. And we wanted to get through the website, we wanted to get through Weathermatic and that, so we will put it, we're not going to lose it because I consider it a critical component of what we're doing going forward. I want to communicate with the community once a month. This is the top 10 priorities we've set for CCMC as it relates to the CROA. I'd like to discuss it at a workshop. It'll now make the June 3rd.
So can we bring it up Wednesday night at the Wednesday night meeting? It's important, the 10 top priorities for CCMC and the community.
it'd be nice to have all the board members here, more than just 3 of us to discuss it, because this.
We can't, we have to adjourn now.
Rather have their input as well.
I absolutely agree, it's important. I'm the one that keeps pushing it, and I absolutely agree, 100%.
All right.
So my only second thing would be, this is definitely like the second time things, so I wasn't sure if I missed it because I did come late. It'd be great if it just was like, oh, that's not gonna happen today, because then maybe I would take off. Not that I didn't like
No.
everything else I heard. That would be my
Fair-
only just
fair-
instruction.
No, it's a very
Yeah.
fair comment. I'm frustrated we didn't get to it. I've been
Yeah.
yelling to get to it.
As long
And
as
on,
it happens and I'm here, that's great.
and on
That'll-
on June 3rd, it is going to be the very first thing on the agenda, and we will reinforce this Wednesday at the board meeting, because we got a full agenda, that it is going to happen on June 3rd. First item. Very fair comment.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else from the audience? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Not me.
Vaughn wants to stay.
Second adjourn, we don't have a quorum.
What's the story with the agreement with Osceola County?
We talked about that.
Well, we just mentioned it, but basically, that's where Kevin said there's ash, that, coal ash that may be slowing it down, but they are supposed to be finalizing the item tonight at their meeting, at which point we would finalize at our meeting on the 22nd. We did reach agreement on language with them, so we expect to get to 2.1 million. Thank you. All right, we have a first and a second. I made them both. We're adjourned. Thank you. Susan, you, me, and Vaughn need to get together in a little bit, but Steve, can you and I get together first?
And you just let me know when.